Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Data Dispatch. Hope everybody is having a wonderful day. We only have one more trading session before we have Nvidia's earnings that will be happening after the bell, and a lot of eyeballs are going to be looking at Nvidia to use it as a gauge towards what's the market behavior and environment going to look like for the rest of the year. In terms of some of the other stocks that we've been talking about, Palantir having a good recovery in terms of this choppy environment that we're in right now as we await those Nvidia earnings, reclaiming 160 and even climbing over that in the overnight hours right now on Robinhood. We're going to be talking about Palantir, Nvidia, the market, and what we could be possibly expecting and what I'm personally going to be expecting for any potential dips, or if this rally is just going to keep continuing. Hit that like button, subscribe for daily videos, and let's pop it up on the screen here. Let's talk about Palantir. Remember we talked about on Monday when we had that open of that huge red candle that was right here that came down about 5% and found this good reversal right here at 150 where it's been tested before, a strong bounce from that 150 and sat here in the 150s and now reclaiming the 160s. We're seeing a lot of resilience here in Palantir. At the 160 zone, we could expect some resistance as we've seen there previously. Before Palantir, that was basically its previous all-time high before it gapped up after its quarter earnings. If Palantir, if we see strong Nvidia earnings showing the demand and setting the precedence for AI for the rest of the year, that's where Palantir could reclaim this 172 area, jumping back up here. We'll see what happens though. In terms of where it's trading at right now, like I said, at 162.30, Palantir bulls are still holding total control over this. After, remember, we had the whole Citron short report. I think a lot of that's starting to fizzle out a little bit here after Palantir had about a 20% dip. So great to see Palantir bulls still in control here at 162. Let's talk about Nvidia. That is the big thing to address. Currently sitting around these all-time high levels at 182.76, up about another dollar in the overnight hours on Robinhood. Now, Nvidia, where it specifically sits at right now and where it closed at market close, if we can just find it on here, always takes me a year. There we go, 181.77. And in terms of its market cap, extremely high. The big thing that everybody's going to be looking at for Nvidia is going to be its guidance. Yes, are they going to be beating earnings? I think the market is kind of pricing that in right now. In terms of the implied volatility and what the options chain is indicating, Nvidia is set for a $260 billion price swing after earnings. Now, stock futures are actually jumping right now. The SPY is up about 66 cents ahead of Nvidia earnings, which kind of leads me to believe that a lot of investors are pricing in Nvidia beating their earnings. Historically, they have. And some of the big things that helped boost this confidence in today's trading session was MongoDB. They popped almost 30% after hours. They topped Wall Street expectations very, very well. And also you have Okta. I don't really know if I'm saying them right. I don't know anything about them, but they jumped about 6%. I can do some research on them. Basically showing demand from artificial intelligence is still continuing to increase. So the chip maker, as we know, Nvidia, has beaten earnings expectations in 11 of the past 12 quarterly reports. But the stock has had a downbeat post-earnings reaction for 4 of those times. So just because Nvidia, if it's going to have a great earnings report in terms of their actual earnings per share and revenue guidance, how that compares to Wall Street, we could have a sell-off. Just going to be depending how basically the market's going to be pricing this in, what the initial reaction will be. The big thing that I'll be keeping on my radar is, okay, what is NVIDIA's future guidance? That's what a lot of people are going to be looking at in terms of the demand for AI. And in terms of Tom Lee here saying that it actually really wouldn't change their thesis if the stock reacted poorly. That's kind of my own personal opinion too. And a lot of people are questioning, if NVIDIA were to sell off a little bit, who's going to really be selling NVIDIA right now in terms of their perspective on AI over the next 5 years? and how quickly they're expanding. We saw the report of their robotics chip. So personally, as a retail investor, I'm very bullish on Nvidia in the long term, and I wouldn't personally be selling it myself. So I think everybody here trying to get situational awareness. Coming off of August, this is where it'll be interesting to see what happens. Historically, this is a rough month for stocks, as we've seen with seasonality. The three major indexes, however, they're tracking actually for gains this month, with optimism pouring into the market, of course, that potential rate cut. Since we had Jackson Hole on Friday, which showed us bullish signals for a rate cut on September, if we get that, the market's pricing that in right now, about an 84% probability of that occurring. And if Nvidia has great guidance, I think we're going to continue to see resilience in the market here. Yes, we could have a cooling off period, and a September historically would be the month for that, as we've seen weakness in cooling off in September. And considering that August is looking to be in the green here so far, there's still a few days left for trading. That means that all the pressure is on September. Now, will the market give us a dip? Not necessarily. I mean, we don't know what's going to be happening. But personally, if we see a pullback to like 62, 6100, and then a year-end rally, that is where I'm kind of sitting at right now. And a lot of bulls are kind of agreeing with that philosophy. S&P 500 right here. Right now, we're seeing choppiness, just waiting for those Nvidia earnings at 64.65. We could possibly get a push up to 65, maybe 6,600 before any type of a cool off. It's all going to depend. So I'll be sitting on the edge of my seat talking about some of the other stocks that would likely be affected to this is basically any stock that is within the AI infrastructure. We can talk about a few of those here in just a few moments. But in terms of what they're actually projecting, $33.3 billion in revenue and 94% year-over-year data center growth, all AI field. And I agree with this. Whatever happens here sets the tone for the market for the rest of the year to try to help increase, or maintain the sustainability of the market cap of Nvidia. Now let's talk about some of the stocks that I will be keeping on my radar, the ones that we've been talking about. Nebius, and we also have CoreWeave at these interesting points, especially with CoreWeave under 100 here. This is at an interesting spot because Nvidia has a large investment into CoreWeave, a high stake. And what Nebius and CoreWeave are doing is basically building the full AI stack cloud infrastructure platform for AI. So if Nvidia has a bullish direction going forward after these earnings, I could expect some positive momentum in these two AI cloud computing stocks right here. In terms of infrastructure, that's looking at Oklo, CCJ, SMR, all these different tickers working to bring and try to work on the major problem that AI is going to bring to the infrastructure, and that is its power limitation and its computing power requirement. Now, nuclear the doors are being opened up on in terms of from a political perspective, basically to try to allow these modular reactors to be created within the U.S. to help unlock the power issue and be a solution to help basically advance the grid, because these data centers are going to require a ton of power. So if we see positive movements there or even negative movements, expecting volatility in a lot of these nuclear stocks. A lot of these other big tech stocks, AI names, a lot of things that have heavy ties to AI, even like Palantir, will probably be experiencing some volatility. But I'll be personally looking at some of the data centers, looking at these, like I said, AI cloud computing companies, and at nuclear. Those are kind of the big things that will be sitting on my radar. A lot of safe havens right now that people have been talking about, looking into, of course, UNH, talking about healthcare as a savings, or as basically a de-risking spot. Right now, healthcare is really not that interesting to me. In terms of stocks that I want to follow stocks that keep me very interested. I'm very interested in the space stocks and within the tech stocks, especially AI, all AI infrastructure related plays. So right now, healthcare is just not the biggest one. If there is one, it's Tempest, because that is really working to bring AI into the healthcare system. So The only healthcare one is an AI one that I'm actually interested in right now. So that's where I'm sitting. I want to hear what is your opinion on Nvidia in terms of their earnings. Do you think that some of that's being priced in right now as we speak, that we've seen, climbing up over here the few, previous few trading sessions? And is this the possible opportunity for Nvidia to push up to $200? So what I have for you guys. Peace out, take care, and I'll catch you guys later.